Chestnut. Don't be shy, girl. Hey. Right then, guys, here we are. Managed to get out the sun for a little bit. Found a little shady spot. And we're at the 2-month marker. Still dry, guys. And boy, has it been an eventful month, I can tell you. So there's quite a few things coming up, but I'm going to kick off with my score for the month. Now, if you remember back, the first day didn't count with hangover. Then we had the first week, which I gave a difficulty score of 7 out of 10. And then after the first month, I gave it a surprising 5. This month, overall, I would have said only like a 4, but I'm gonna give it a 6. I know it's crazy, isn't it? It's getting harder. Only 2 days, but boy were they bad, really, really bad. And as I say, if those 2 days hadn't been so awful, I would have given it a 4. So I'll go into it in a minute why it was so bad. But what's coming up, guys, I apologise on the last video that I didn't finish my best ever drinking session that was in Thailand, which was the New Year's Eve story. I'll finish that. It's not much more to go on that. And then my little bonus for this one is going to be my favourite 5 pints in my 30 plus years of being a boozer. Right, I'm out of the sun, so I've took the old bins off. It's not nice just sitting there talking to someone or listening to someone with sunglasses on, I know, but normally when I'm out in the sun, I've got no choice. I've got very sensitive eyes. Right then, so these 2 days which were flipping a real test, biggest test so far for me, caught me unawares. The first one was from a day which was totally exhausting. Me and Toon sat down afterwards and said, it's probably the physically hardest day we've ever had here on the farm. Well, it was on and off the farm. It was incredibly hot. We had loads to do here. And then we had to go and cut the goat food, which was in full sun. And we just couldn't get out of it. And it was the hottest part of the day. Even the wind that was there was a hot wind. It's just like a hot hairdryer in your face. And we were both wobbling. It really were wobbling. I don't mean wobbling that I wanted a pint, although I did. Yeah, we were running on empty. We were running on vapours. It was bad. I think it was borderline unhealthy how we're pushing ourselves. But we got through it. Now the second one that was really bad, equally bad, but for a totally different reason, was we didn't really have an argument, me and Toon. We don't really argue these days. It's just we're too knackered. You can't work on a farm together. If you fall out, you can't get all your jobs done, so it's not allowed. But we had a few short, sharp words one point of the day, and then another one, which probably sounds a bit childish. She let all the washing machine water out into one of my organic vegetable beds, and I was just like, oh, I've just wasted all my time now. So that, with exhaustion and then a bit shouty early on. I know it sounds crazy, doesn't it? That shouldn't sort of like be an excuse to really fancy a beer, but bloody hell, I did big time. I was almost like rocking, comforting myself, but we got through it. Well, when I say we, Toon's still off the ale, which probably isn't a surprise to you. Apart from those 2 incidences, it's amazing. It's amazing how smoothly it's going now. I can't say that I don't fancy a pint, because I do, but it's not always in my head, which at one point it was. Beer o'clock has totally gone. I just do not get the urge now like I was getting most days. We're coming back from getting the goat food, we're coming past the shop, and we'll always stop, get a couple of beers at the same sort of time every day, and then we would sit down and drink it. It got me thinking, why is it still so hard? But when it happens, is that the experiences feels harder, but it's less frequent. So I did start looking into it because it didn't make any sense to me. And what it is, it's just your brain. It's your brain being cheeky with you. It's apparently it's when you associate beer with certain situations. So bad day at work, bad day with the missus. It's a Friday. It's the start of the weekend. All those sorts of things, and it's you unconsciously justifying having a drink and then feeling better for having it, regardless whether you overdo it during the evening or whatever and then pay the price the next day. So it's like you're reaffirming it to your brain, saying, yeah, that she's got on my nerves today, I'm gonna have a pint. You have a pint, you feel better. Well, hang on a minute, I'll have another pint, then I'll feel even better than that, and another one. And then the next time that situation arises, your brain goes, beer, that'll fix it for you, mate. So is there anything wrong with that? I can't be too judgmental, can I? Because I did it for bloody 30 years. Okay, not always moody drinking. You know, the more you look into the effects of alcohol, and people that basically they're professionals in that field, and they'll say, well, you need to get to the bottom of why you need that drink. So if you're always around with your missus every day, perhaps your relationship needs a bit of work. Perhaps you're drinking every night when you finish work because you're not happy with your work. Well, that was me, although I was on expenses, so it made it easier. If I was having to shell out that money every night, perhaps I wouldn't have drank so much. Weekend syndrome, you've had a tough week at work, or you haven't seen the mates for a while, and you just make that association. But if you need to sort of like cut loose at a weekend, is that saying that your career situation needs reassessing? I'm not saying that if you're caning at weekends, we all need to change our jobs. There's lots of people that aren't happy in their jobs, is there? But it's easy to say. It's very, very easy to say, isn't it? And that's where some of this has come around for me, because I'm running out of these excuses that I've made to myself for all these years. Career, bad situations with relationships and that sort of thing. I mean, even in the early years with Toon, we weren't together that much. So long distance relationships, certainly very, very trying. So, turning to the bottle, I know it's not the answer, but it's sort of like, I certainly found it as a release. Yeah, definitely a release. But it's not actually resolving the situation, is it? It's very, very, very difficult. Well, I find it very, very difficult to say these things sometimes, because I've been worse than most people, I think. I'm certainly on a par with a lot of people. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we just stick to how I've found it myself. So, yeah, hopefully the next time Toon has a bit of a shout at me when I'm overly tired and exhausted, or she drains the washing machine with her soap powder into an organic vegetable bed, I won't get such a strong urge to drink. Well, it won't happen again, because I've re-diverted her pipe out of the washing machine. I know she can change it back. She's sneaky like that when I'm not looking. If I'm out on Goat Island, yeah, I did say, well, I'm never eating anything out of that vegetable bed again, and that's yours. I'd sifted all my soil as well. I'd had like my rocket soil all perfect. I'd even screened the mulch on it. Wasn't a weed in sight. Everything was growing nicely. I mean, it's still growing nice now, but I think they're all on bloody, well, whatever is in soap powder. It's not a friendly soap powder from what I can tell. It certainly smells nice. but I'm not sure if it's good for plants, and I'm pretty sure it's not good for you if you eat the plants. We might give those veg away, eh? Okay, word of the month. So first month we had perky, because there was a bit of a rise in the old bedroom activity. Then we had zesty, because I had lots of energy and I was buzzing around. This month, I don't even know if it's a real word again. Perspectiveness. Yeah. Hang on, someone's nibbling me. Who's that? Chestnut. Do you mind, my dear? You get enough video time. How could I describe it? I reckon it's been like a smoke, a mist, a fog, something like that. Not heavy, but since I've stopped the ale, everything seems clearer. Everything, which has really surprised me, and it wasn't something that I was expecting at all. Because I just thought, well, 2 beers a day, it doesn't actually affect me. Maybe my liver long term, I really don't know. But everything seems a bit clearer. Not that I was in a world of confusion before, but yeah, it's a strange one, guys. It really, really is strange. I definitely feel a little bit more mellow. I'm still buzzing around like a lunatic, but I'm definitely more organised. My day has got more structure, whereas before I'd go at something like half an hour, like a bat out of hell, and then sort of like go on to something else. I mean, I'm still darting around. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like focused on a project. I'll get that done, or near as what I can get done with the daylight hours. And well, mostly it's the weather. If it's really, really hot, which it has been, you can only do certain jobs in certain areas for so long, and then when the sun hits it, you got to move on. So I might do 2 hours on one vegetable bed, and I might go and do half an hour somewhere else. We do the corn and all that sort of thing. But everything just seems, it's not like regimental, it's not, but yeah, it's like, right, okay, I'm done here now. It's getting a little bit too hot. We'll bin that for the day or until late afternoon, early evening, and then I'll go and do that. My energy levels definitely improved. Sleep, I've had jumpy leg syndrome once in the month. Brilliant. I used to suffer from that nearly all the time. Quality of sleep is definitely better. Still getting up at silly o'clock. I think the silliest one so far was like, what is it? I was awake at 20 to 4. And here's the weird thing. Awake at 24, ready to go. I'm like, okay. I don't feel tired at all. I had no sleep in my eye or anything. I wasn't, body was still a little bit achy, but yeah. So I got up it was just after 4. I put a brew on, sowed some coriander seed. Yeah, I think I did a little bit of watering, and I had a coffee, played with the dogs a bit, which that's something else actually, which I hadn't even considered before. Dogs have took a back seat for quite a few months, and although I do take the piss out of them being useless, yeah, they are nice dogs. Although Spoon, shitbag, she does like laying on my straw mulch in my vegetable bed. So now I've got all, I'll show you another time, not today's video. I've had to put sharp bamboo sticks all over the place, so she goes in there and tries to lay on my tomatoes or something, she gets a spike in the butt. So yeah, have a play with them and stroke them more. No excuse for not doing it before. I don't know why I stopped. Don't know. It's quite embarrassing. I do get angry, which I shouldn't do. I was just thought, oh, this is going to be so good now. No alcohol in my system, and I can feel my life changing dramatically, steadily. I feel a real connection with growing stuff. putting my hands in the soil and, you know, seeing stuff grow and eating. Now we're eating the stuff as well. And sometimes a goat gets out and eats them. Sometimes the dog squashes them. I just bomb. I shouldn't do that. I know I shouldn't do it, but I don't. It's like someone lighting the bloody blue touch paper. So I need to still sort that out. I need to get some perspectiveness. Yeah, perhaps I haven't used the right word, have I? Or have I? I don't know. There is something else that's been unexpected, and I can feel myself caring more about things and not being so wrapped up in myself so much anymore. Caring about others more. That's what it's all about, isn't it? I think so. But this is turning out to be a bit deep and meaningful, isn't it? It's normally a bit more jovial. I'm still having a laugh every day, don't you worry. And I'm having even more fun now. Isn't that strange? You associate drinking alcohol with having extra fun. And don't get me wrong, I had some brilliant experiences drinking and very enjoyable. Not so much the next day, I know. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to be enjoying even the evenings more, which was when the time would be that, you know, late afternoon, early evening, 2 or 3 beers. Excellent. Excellent bonus, that is. Unexpected. Some of the other things I've been keeping myself busy, you know, I've talked about before, trying to replace the buzz that you get with alcohol. And yeah, you can have your smoothies and all that sort of thing, and, you know, try and look for a hit that other way. But to me, it initially it was the taste, so then I had the sugar rush. I wanted the sugar rush to replace that high. Once the actual physical craving for a taste, for a hit, went, it's then what I found is filling the void that's the time. So those few hours that I would sit around drinking, yeah, and I'd be on the phone. You may see now, it takes a little bit longer for me to get back to replies on comments. I've had a lot of messages as well and emails, and I am behind. I apologise, guys, but it's because I don't have that 2-hour window now where I'm sitting looking at my phone doing my online stuff, which some may say, well, you're missing out there, and fair dues, but I'm now doing my my KNF. It's not a new, I'm not started watching a new boy band or something like that. It's Korean natural farming. I've been learning about this for quite some time, but there's never much point in me putting it into practice because I hadn't started growing my vegetables. And it's all about microorganisms and healthy bacteria, and incorporating that into creating a healthy soil for your vegetables. So that's been brilliant. You know, I'm now fermenting. Not alcohol. It's not allowed in Thailand unless you've got a certificate to do so, which the big companies have. Not your moonshine creators. Yeah. So if you've never heard of KNF and IMO and Jadam and all that lot, bloody hell, it's such an eye opener. If you think gardening and growing stuff is all about NPK, geez, it just shows you we know very, very little, certainly about the food web and soil. So I find it addictive. So there's my new addiction. And once I've got my head around that and I started implementing it more, I'll be on to the next thing. I'll probably be growing mushrooms, be doing my bees, all that sort of thing. I'm trying not to splinter off into so many different areas, because don't forget I'm still doing my biochar and my goat muck and my composting, and still got hot shower. So yeah, I'm trying to focus my efforts into certain areas. Weight loss, wow. uh, the first 2 weeks of this month, it fell off. It was basically melting off my body. I had lost a little bit the month before. I should have weighed myself. We don't even have scales here. It doesn't really mean anything to me. And Tuna always weighs herself when she gets the opportunity. I do when we go hospital or clinic. But yeah, my clothes were falling off me. Well, they still are. I still am losing a little bit of weight, but those first 2 weeks, my God. And it coincided with me beating the craving for my sugar. Once that subsided, and it wasn't like, oh, I want sugar, I'm not having it. It wasn't that. It just gradually eased off. That's when it started to slow down a little bit. I can't put it all down to not drinking alcohol, though, although it's too much of a coincidence. But I have introduced another couple of things into my daily life, or mostly daily, that I'm doing, which has definitely helped as well. And I don't really like looking at too many memories on Facebook. You know, it pops up like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, but Tune always pops things up there and tags me, and I looked at one from like 5 years ago, and I just thought, flipping heck, how is that the same person? And then it started flooding back to me how I used to feel there, not just carrying extra weight, but you know, always feeling bloated, indigestion, heartburn, jumpy legs, disrupted sleep, stress. Now, what I was thinking about putting it into a separate video, but again, I don't want to come over as bloody like a health freak. Okay, I've just changed my. I'm going to tell you my secrets, because I don't want to I don't want to do a standalone video on how to lose weight and come over as a bloody health freak, bloody health expert, which I'm most certainly not. So here we go. These are my secrets. Number one is obviously giving up the alcohol, or cutting right down, guys. Number two is honey. You all know how good honey is for you. If you don't, just Google it. It is incredible how good honey is for you. But here's the trick. Don't have cold honey. If you have cold honey, you gain weight, although it's still very, very good for you. Have warm honey. So what I do is I put a little bit of honey, well, I would say 1 teaspoon, into my coffee in the morning. Only once. If I'm feeling a little bit peaky, late morning, I don't have coffee in the afternoon anymore. Late morning, I'll have another spoon of honey in there. I'll just have black coffee. What you shouldn't do, though, is pour your boiling water straight over your honey. So sometimes I can't even be bothered to wait for the water to boil. It's filtered clean water anyway, so I don't know. I haven't been ill not boiling it. If you are concerned, you know, about the quality of your water and you do want to boil it, then just put a cup of cold water or lukewarm water, room temperature water rather, into your cup that's got the coffee and the honey or whatever you want with your honey in there. Just honey on its own. Water laced with honey is probably the best way to do it, or squeeze a lemon or lime. So just pour that in first, so you don't actually cook the honey. I'm not sure why, but it's a common opinion from people that are more intelligent than me, than when you cook honey, or when honey gets very, very hot, it's nowhere near as good for you. I suppose it could be the same way that you cook your veggies. If you boil your sprouts till they fall off your fork, it's no good, is it? Number 3 is disgusting. It's not a disgusting habit, it just tastes disgusting. This has to be or it's better done on an empty stomach. And it involves, well, what we call out here, tree. If you've never heard of it, that's the Thai word for it. more commonly known across the world as neem. We've got loads growing here, just growing wild. Now, I have had neem flowers steamed before, and we have a sweet chili dip with it. It's incredibly bitter, but with the sweetness of the dip, it's really good. But it's not the flowers, because the flowers are bad enough anyway on their own. It's the leaves. Now, a lot of people make it into powder and then mix with water and make it into a little paste and a little ball and swallow it. You're going to lose some degree of nutrition doing that, and I'm lazy. I don't want to dry the leaves and then blitz them all up and then add water back to them. So I just man up, go and get my neem leaves, put them under the tap, nosh on them. It is almost gag reflex. But what it does is clean your colon out, and I've had terrible issues with constipation the last couple of years. Do this on an empty stomach, brilliant. You're not I'm gonna say, you don't shit through an eye of a needle, you're just regular. So after doing that for a couple of days, as soon as you wake up, within 20 minutes you've gone to the loo, it's totally clear. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? Now I still eat well, but probably twice a day. And when I started researching it, you know, it's like when I started looking at honey, neem, not drinking alcohol, then you start getting suggestions on YouTube of other health videos. And one was, I saw in the title, it was like 16-8. 2 meals a day, 16 and 8 hours. It's basically, you know, your 16-hour break gives you an empty stomach. You have your neem on top of that, good to go. Honestly, that's all I've done, guys. Honestly, I haven't started exercising. I have got high levels of energy, yeah, definitely, but I plough that into my productivity. Yeah, I do sometimes jog over to Goat Island or something like that. It's only like 150 meters, something like that. But yeah, even if it's like 50 meters and I want to go, I've forgotten something like that, I might break into a little jog. Whereas I didn't have the energy before, I do now. So that's probably wrapped up the experiences of the month. Bedroom wise is still the same, so a bit of an increase the first week, and it's just stayed at that level. We're still not shagging till the sun comes up. It's all good, guys. My flabby skin is disappearing now. I think because I do a little bit of stretching. I'm getting a few aches and pains, so I thought, all right, start to do some stretching, and I don't know whether that helps you tone up. I imagine it does a little bit, but I think it was because I lost the weight so quickly. My skin didn't have time to contract, but yeah, it's nice and taut now. I've gone from a 1-pack to a 2-pack now. Not the dead rapper. He was good, wasn't he? Yeah. So I don't know. I never thought it was possible. Maybe a 6-pack before 50. Right then, on to my 2 bits that I promised. So to round off my best ever drinking session while here in Thailand was the Bangkok New Year's Eve. So if you didn't watch the last video, you need to watch that, and then the last little bit where I was rudely interrupted by my wife, and when she came in swearing her head off. Apologies for that. I couldn't be bothered to bleep it all out. By 1:30 in the morning, in the hotel restaurant where Toon and I had been in there since early afternoon, having lunch that progressed into dinner, plus nibbles in between, and trying to get through the whole cocktail menu. Yeah, we eventually passed out at 1:30. So definitely, by far and away, both our best New Year's ever. The photo we got with the flashing lights on our head is it's mental. But so that was my first night back in Thailand from a work trip. So we normally then just dive down to the the breakfast that was included in the restaurant in the morning, and then go and shoot and get a bus from Morchit bus station in Bangkok. Morchit, not Morshit. Just about got to the breakfast before last orders. I just had a heavily sugared coffee, went back to the room and carried on being sick. I think Toon had been sick during the night as well. Couldn't get our heads off the pillow for long enough to even consider making the run for the bus station. No way I could have stayed on a bus without chucking my ring up. Although it was by far and away our best New Year's Eve, I was only back in Thailand for 3 weeks, so in essence I lost a whole 24 hours plus with a hangover. Do I regret it? I regret the hangover for sure, but you can't regret the night that you had your best ever New Year's Eve party. And to say that it was just me and Toon and a cocktail manager and a few chefs and stuff who popped in now and again to have a swift tequila with us. No, it was brilliant times. Right, swiftly moving on. My favourite 5 pints. I've tried to give a cross section. Of course, over 30 years you go through having your different favourites, don't you? So it's the order is definitely muddled. I'm going to have at number 5. It should be higher really, but I discovered it late in my life, as in 4 years before I stopped drinking, and I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's a Japanese lager, Asahi, something like that. It's a really dry, crisp, well, I would call it a lager. I think Americans call everything beers, don't they? I don't know. It's certainly not an ale. When as Brits say ales, it's like a real ale. You drink at room temperature and it makes your farts stink terrible. It's got a frothy head on it, not like a foam. It's like dishwater. So yeah, really, I can taste it now. Number 4, I only had a handful of times as a pint. I drank most of it out of a bottle, and it wasn't half as good. But this was straight out the barrel, and many years ago, my mate who I had in Peterborough, we both lived at Peterborough at the same time. I believe he's still there. And he had a static caravan some of you will know this, at Old Hunstanton. And we went there one weekend, and I wasn't really into real ales anymore. I think it was too many years having them as a kid, as underage drinking and rugby. You honestly, we got fined by the captain if we got caught drinking lager. You had to drink real ale, had to drink King Keg. It was gopping. It was only about 50p a pint. 45p a pint it was when I was 16. Anyway, he said, trust me, Lee, I'm going to take you to this pub I know, and they got this beer called Adnams Broadside, and it's straight out the barrel. He said, don't touch lager tonight, have a pint of that with me. Oh my God, that was a good pint. So good. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too good, and we forgot to go and get the fish and chips for his missus on the way back, and she went ballistic when we got back, really drunk, without any food for her. We didn't forget our curry, but we did forget our fish and chips. But that was a good beer. You have a chance of having that. If you've never really took to real ale and you get a chance of having Adnams Broadside, certainly out of a keg, it is fantastic. It's not quite as strong as, for some reason, it's not as strong as when they bottle it. I think bottled it's about 6%, at least 5.5%, but I think out of the barrel it was like 4.5%, so it's a different brew. Number 3, I did say pint, didn't I? It's a cider, and I got into this in a big way when was on work trips to down Devon area, a place called Bude. Beautiful part of the UK if you ever get a chance, right on the coast, southern coast. Down there you are sport for choice with good ciders. The one I've chosen was run really close by a cider called Thatcher's Gold. If you've got a real thirst on at the end of a hot day, you get a Thatcher's Gold down you. But if you want to get as drunk as quick as possible, what you want to be going for is, oh my god, I've just forgotten it. The memory's getting worse now. Stop drinking. Oh my god, it was in my noggin a minute ago. There we is. Come back now. Cornish Rattler pear cider. First time I had it, Toon was with me on my work trip to Bude, and we went to a really old traditional English pub called the Ben Coolin. It's good food in there. You get a chance to go in there, guys, on your travels. Get in there. Well, it's probably changed management now. This is about 8 or 9 years ago. And I saw this Cornish Rattler. So I was on the pints and Toon was on the halves. I had 3 pints, Toon had 3 halves, and I don't know who was propping the other one up on the walk back to the hotel. Didn't feel drunk, but I tell you, it was a quaffer. You might think, well, 3 pints isn't a lot, Lee. It's a work trip. So, you know, I've got to teach health and safety the next day. You can't turn up reeking of alcohol and got a wobble on, certainly if you're doing working at height rescue courses. So yeah, wow, that had a kick, but it didn't even taste alcoholic. You know how some of these cocktails, they're just like that, and you're like, flipping cheapskates, they just put fruit juice in there, there's no alcohol in it. Yeah, this is just takes your legs away from underneath you. So juvenile, isn't it? My second one, it's not easy to find. I first discovered it on a lads' weekend. When I say my lads, it was my dad and a load of his mates from his previous print company that they all used to work for in London. And I went down there for a weekend. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in my life when I was coming to the end of school. I wasn't sure whether to get into A levels, and I just didn't know. So he said, come down with me. It was approaching Christmas. Spend some time and see if it's for you. Anyway, became very good friends with his friends, and then they were going to have a boys' weekend away, and they said, why don't you bring Lee with you? And fortunately my dad did, and sadly a couple of the guys have passed on now, but there's still a few left, and Neil is one of them who you'll know if you've been following the channel from the start. I've used a lot of his music that he's put together. Such a funny guy. Anyway, we went away, went into this pub. It was a walking holiday, and it was proper hiking. Gets to 12 o'clock, you start looking for a boozer, and we got in there, and it's just lager. I'll have a lager, whatever. And I think most of the lads were into Stella. Never really liked Stella. It gives me a stinking headache, same as Kronenberg. But I don't know. It was probably some pissy lager. And a guy called Kevin, he comes back to he'd got the round in. He come back to the table, and he's got this. It's like a nice light coloured beer with a creamy head on it. We're like, it's bloody Boddingtons. If you're into the beer, you'd be like, you laugh at anyone that drinks a Boddington. You're like, bloody dishwater. It's like non-alcoholic beer almost. Doesn't taste of anything. It's just like a synthetic beer. He goes, nice. Something called Waggle Dance. Oh, what? Yeah, Waggle Dance, a honey beer. Anyway, he started drinking it. Just drank the whole. And as he was going like that, we're like, oh, this looks good. Gives a taste, mate. It was like, it's just gone. And as he put it down, he was amazed. He was like, I'm going to get another one of them. How is it? I'll have one of them. I'll have one. I tell you what, after that weekend away, every pub that we went into, if it didn't serve waggle dance, we walked straight back out. So I've never ever found it anywhere else. But every time, because it was my dad's caravan. I'm in my dad's caravan. In Derbyshire it was. And every time I went there, yeah, I remembered the pubs. Go there. After that, I only found it in the bottles, and it was, although it was nice, you could just get it from your Tesco's. Wasn't anywhere near as good. So there you go, a honey beer called Waggle Dance. It's not too sweet or anything like that. Same as the pear cider, not crazy sweet. I think a lot of these are like, oh well, that's not real beer. You remember, these are my favourite pints. You can drink it for a session, definitely. Well, wouldn't you know it, guys? I was just getting on to my number one beer, my number one pint. My battery died. By the time I charged it, it was time to get the sweet corn from the farm opposite us, and just started shredding it all and ran out of petrol for the engine that drives the shredder. So Toon's just shot off into the village to get that. I thought, right, I'll grab the camera now. I've got a full battery. My number one isn't even close. There was no other pint that could hold a light to this. And it's one of those Marmites, or if you're Australian, Vegemite. You either love it or you hate it. And I absolutely loved Guinness. I tell you what, oh, wow. But most of my drinking career with the rugby lads, that's all I drank. That is all I drank, honestly. It was just nothing else. I didn't want anything else. There's a great drink. And I always used to tell myself, oh, well, it's part of it's a meal in itself, Guinness. Lovely. I wasn't into the really icy cold one that they came up with, but just the normal one. Yeah, I loved it to pieces. Drank it for many, many years. Even when I was a gym rat, in the gym every single day and running at night and all that sort of thing. Came to Friday and Saturday night. Friday night was power drinking. We called it that because we didn't have very long. We used to go out quite late, not till about 9:30. And I used to, when I was on the late shift, I used to finish at 9. I used to ring the cab before I set off from work. By the time I got home, that was it. I just threw my work stuff in the house. Taxi was waiting, meet the boys down the pub. And that was it, straight on the black stuff. A lot of people say, oh, it's too heavy and all that. No, it's not. It's just a great pint. Whether it's a food replacement or not, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, you'd struggle to get a curry down at the end of the night, whereas lager or something like that, it's just no problem. But yeah, it's quite filling, Guinness. But yeah, I used to have about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 pints of that. I don't think I ever had more than 8 pints, even in my heyday, whereas the lads, you know, most of my mates were forward, played in the forwards, they were big units, and yeah, a lot of them could do 10 pints plus. Beer monsters, as we say. Yeah, it were good times, but I tell you what, drinking that, there were sacrifices, of course, the next day. I love my fishing, as you all know. And even in my single days, I had to knock on the head my fishing on a Sunday because I was so hungover. And basically, we had the power drinking Friday night, post-match drinks on the Saturday. So you play your game straight in the bar in the clubhouse afterwards. Quite often we'd miss our dinner, just drinking. Might have a bite to eat later on, maybe not. And then Sunday was a team or a group recovery session, which normally meant meeting down the boozer and having a Sunday roast and another pint just to settle yourself. Not proud of it, but a lot of good friends. They weren't just drinking buddies. A lot of those guys I went to school with, you know, and played all through their years at rugby. Met some other guys a little bit later on. Some of the guys had gone away to college and we'd lost touch, and then when they'd finished college or uni, that sort of thing, they'd come back. And I hadn't really gone away from rugby too much. I'd missed a few years through injury, but yeah, rugby and Guinness brought us all together. So there's my top 5. Asahi, whatever it was. Cornish Rattler, Broadside, Waggle Dance, Guinness. Fantastic, fantastic pints in my book. If I had to have a beer out of a can, one of my favourites was Red Stripe. There you go. If it was a cider, now you might take the pee out of this. If it was cider and we were camping, we used to have Strongbow. Beat Strongbow out of a can. Had that for brekkie a few times. Right then, all that remains for me to say is I hope it's going well for you guys. I know a few of you guys that have stuck with me, and a couple of you have wobbled a little bit. Don't beat yourselves up. And if you want to do it again, just climb back on and start again. So thanks for all your support. As I keep saying, I really, really do mean it. Hopefully we can carry on and get to the end of the year, and then who knows what. We'll see what happens. So far, so good, eh?